Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, pirates on the high seas. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of One Piece. In the previous episode, we saw the early adult years of Kuma and Ginny, quite some time after they managed to escape from slavery and the incident in God Valley. Despite Ginny feeling apprehensive about it, Kuma spent his time, mostly Sundays because once a week at least gave him time to recover, Kuma would expel the pain from the elderly and take it all into himself without them knowing. This was mostly because the new king of the Sorbet Kingdom, Bakuri, had been pressing the elderly more and more, and years later he even goes so far as to enslave them. Kuma and his friends fight back but are ultimately imprisoned, only for the freedom fighters led by Ivankov and Dragon to step in and force Bakuri to rescind a lot of his orders. With the reuniting of Kuma, Ivankov, and Ginny, and Kuma finally meeting his hero, Dragon, the revolutionary army is formed. Unfortunately, years after that, just before she was about to meet Bartholomew Kuma, who she cared so much about, Ginny was abducted by an unknown person. What'll happen next? Well, I've read the manga, and nothing but pain lies next. Join me as I endure it, won't you? All to go. Let me read it at least. Revolutionary Army Headquarters. I say that like I don't know the location. Oh boy. I love how they're constantly scrambling. Rebels and Tume in the South Blue. Carrying a lot of injured people from the Goa Kingdom. So this is right after the burning of Grey Terminal. Well, the trash heap in Grey Terminal, and one of those injured people is probably Sabo. Kuma says he'll go. You've been too reckless, Kuma. Jeez! Oh man, I can't tell you enough how much I love actually getting to see what lies behind Kuma's eyes. Because I remember when Kuma was first introduced, and you have his eyes, which by that point were actually robotic eyes. It's even funnier because it's kind of sad too. What was his glasses turned into actual robotic eyes. But back in the day, Kuma, who always looked stoic and sullen and unflappable, there was this rage behind it, especially after losing Ginny. And it's just, man, it's kind of next level to actually just be able to look back on all those moments where before he fully transitioned and knowing that there was so much actual emotion. It's just that before we got to know him, we never would have noticed any of that emotion. It's all retcons because the Seven Warlords weren't initially created for the One Piece story, and the supernovas weren't initially created, and the connection between Kuma and Ginny, I doubt was initially there, especially when Bonney was first created. But to be able to finesse it into the actual story and make it so that it's just like, yeah, it's all plausible is really great work on Oda's part. Like, there's plenty of times where Oda writes in something that's just like, yeah, I call BS on that. But then there's other times where it's just like, man, you managed to work this in phenomenally. Oh boy. And in the midst of the battle, jeez. See, this is where the animation gets to shine. It adds so much more detail to certain moments that you never got to see too much of. Yeah, the abduction of Ginny. Yeah, a celestial dragon had their eyes on her, which is just like, how? Why? How did that happen? There is the involvement of Saturn ultimately, especially with what happens later, but it's like, why? To what degree? What made you pursue her, really? Outside of maybe them finding out that Ginny was, the cause of God Valley, which, if they knew that, then that would be pretty serious. Ivankov does end up eventually getting captured, but the fact that Ginny was put into slavery under a celestial dragon, and Ivankov was simply locked away and impelled down. I don't know. And Kuma's involvement. Then again, they all receive different punishment. So I wonder, taken to be a celestial dragon's wife. And to this day, we still don't know who was the person who abducted her. Ooh, dang. And the finisher, the Ursa Shashak. Like a raging bull, the Revolutionary Army. Oh, hey, that's the one dude. Yeah, what's his name? Is it like Bunny Joe or something like that? Is that supposed to be him? Or is it just someone who looks kind of like him? Yeah, I think it is. Huh. Well, that's interesting. I don't remember seeing him in the manga. And 3 years of fighting, the tide turned by the Revolutionary Army. And Kuma can't even really embrace it because of what he's lost. The people cheer, but he can't enjoy any of it. The unit was wiped out. I'll take a ship home. Like, don't wait up. A pledge to Ginny. Kuma becomes a father. God, and the fact that there's no music, you just hear the empty howling of the wind in the background. This episode's gonna suck. It's gonna be amazing, but it's gonna suck. 2 years later. 2 years. Oh no. Did we even get the argument between why dragons said that they wouldn't go after her? Because that's not included. Or did it not happen yet? That's kind of odd. Huh. Oh no. Oh man. You could just see the anger festering with Kuma. Oh no. Back in the lower world. He says, I'm glad you're alive, and the fact that the Denden Mushi can reflect the look on her face too. Got sick. They no longer need me. I've been discarded. I'm saying goodbye. And this also explains how she was able to communicate with them, because she would know where Kuma would hide an emergency line to the revolutionaries, or she'd be able to get in contact with them. And dying. Actually, I'm curious to see Dragon's face. Nah, it's still just that sullen expression, but because of us now knowing how emotional Kuma could get, I'm really curious what's going on behind those eyes. Don't ever come to see me, because she doesn't want him to see. But he realizes where she would go. There's only one place she would go. He's too kind. Please watch over him. Which makes what happens to Kuma even worse. I'll always love you. He didn't even get to hear her last words. God. Her entire body explodes to light. But she died with a smile, because even in the end she got to talk to you. Yeah, and there's the let's get married thing, where it's just like, it's like if it was gonna happen anyway. Like, that's so bitter of a thing. There's Bonney. She wanted to make sure her child would live. She wanted to make sure her child would be somewhere safe. And without hesitation, Kuma immediately looks after the child. To a certain degree, I wish we lingered on it a little bit more, but at the same time, I'm glad we didn't, because, I remember that moment in the manga, and it just, my heart still bleeds immensely for the moment. Because how could he know this would happen? Would it have been better or worse if they had gotten married? If they had actually just had a child beforehand? I don't know. It's hard to say. We as people all have regrets about the things that we did and didn't do. The path not traveled. And that's the funny thing about Bonney and her abilities. She has the ability to, go into the future and adapt things from potential futures, which is kind of a spoiler. I'm sorry. But the idea of what could have happened is still kind of there, even though Bonney, I don't know if she would have had her abilities if that was a possibility. I don't know. The bottle's at the wrong angle. China. Put her in the iron cage when you sleep. You might crush her. Shit. Actual things I worry about with a child. No. Let's go to town on it. Girl, to be a glutton like Ginny. Yeah, Ginny lives on through Bonney, but that doesn't make the loss of Ginny any easier to bear in the long run. Look at that baby move. Yeah, that's actual babies. Like, the moment they get to crawling, they're just all over the place. Just, oh my goodness. And they have no sense of self-preservation, so they will just dive into just pretty much almost trying to kill themselves as far as you're concerned, because it's just like, no! Oh, man. Sunrise, sunset. There for her first steps. Aww. Daddy. Aww. 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 Oof. Oof. She's already gotten so big. She's so adorable. Actually, I'm realizing there's some stuff they left out. Because you did see him having her sleep in an iron cage in order to protect her and stuff like that. I feel like there's a few little moments they left out of this. But he still would go out and do his thing. Daddy's off to go be a revolutionary. Jeez. No, there it is. There it is. Yeah, showed that it was actually a good thing. And the training with Sabo, which, I love this. Because the training with Sabo was something that was initially only seen in the anime. And then I'm just like, okay, the anime adding stuff. Only for me to find out later that was actually something that Oda wanted included. So there you had a moment that was initially only ever seen first in the anime, later seen in the manga, and now you're having that moment again here, and it's just like, that's why I never count out the anime. Despite what a lot of people feel and say about the anime, there's stuff in the anime that Oda specifically did for and because of the anime, and told them to include in some situation. So it's just like, I can never count out the anime in any way, shape, or form. I mean, shoot, the whole reason we initially even got Frankie was because he had heard Frankie's voice actor Yao as like Django and Bon Clay, and so he created Frankie because of that. So I can never count out the anime because of that, because there's so much connective tissue that has come because of Oda and his love for the anime. So, no matter what my feelings, I will always have a deep appreciation for the One Piece anime. Now, even when the One Piece comes out, time is passing and something's developing. Daddy came home late, but he's still home. That's a hell of a leap. Yeah. I don't blame them for being curious, but close the door. The same condition, just like when Ginny... Yeah. See, good friends. The moment they found out, they're just like, wait, whoa. What? Like, didn't even have to go through the discussion. They're immediately like, okay, we're on it, man. I hate that we don't know what happened to them after they were captured. I hope they get to reunite with Bonney in the future. Get exposed to the sun. Yeah, most doctors have no idea. Let's take her outside and see. Like, dude, like what? Lead disease? Yeah, it kind of harkens back to law, but it's I wonder, did people ever find out that white lead disease wasn't actually contagious? He doesn't want her to be troubled. Yeah, and of course he would quit because it's just like, look, man, it's been real, but the situation going on with Bonney, nah, I have to dedicate to figuring this out. At the very least, want to be with her. And Dragon just in an instant, like, I get it. Do what you need to. Like, there's a lot of people who are very critical of Dragon and his way of doing things and his thinking and all that. But there are multiple moments where he actually does show a compassionate side or a bit of a caring side or a lot of understanding. It's just like, no, I get it. There's not even a moment of him being like, but the revolution needs you and we can't do this without you. He doesn't push it. He's just like me, like, no, I get it. Do what you gotta do. do your thing. So I don't know. I wonder, did Oda maybe want them to remove that moment of Dragon convincing Kuma not to go? I'm having a hard time. Did I miss that moment? Yeah, and then he immediately like, okay, I'll check in with every doctor I can get in touch with. I don't know. Ooh, that was a cool transition. 7 years ago, when Bonney was 5. The vampire. You know, despite the change in time slot, they still censor the fact that in the manga she flipped in the bird. The vampire here in a church. Yeah, brandishing the cross. The worrying dad. Growing up to be a good girl. Yeah, she would be at the age to have a bit of a temperament. Look, most 5-year-olds aren't that eloquent. Maybe if she was around like 7. I don't know. Is it ugly? I wonder, has anyone ever tried to remove them? I wonder if that would just make it worse or spread even faster. Or maybe they just instantly grow. The jewels? I love that moment. Yeah, when he calls them jewels for the future jewelry Bonney. Such a doting father. If he could travel the world, where would he go? God, I love it. I love the incorporation of all these things we know about Kuma and just the dramatic change in context behind all of it. You know, I think back to the first time we see Kuma, more specifically, the first time we actually get him actually speaking or actually doing anything. He's asking Perona, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you want to go? And now, knowing that context, I wonder, Perona, who also has pink hair, who older than his daughter, when he saw Perona initially, did he think of Bonney? Is that why he sent her away? To potentially spare Perona what was about to happen? I wonder, it adds a whole different context. Because I can't remember if they showed that moment in the manga or not. Go to Sky Island, which would be how Nami ends up in Witheria. Sky Island closer to the sun. Maybe Nika will be there. And then he does the Nika dance, which is that initial memory we saw. Go on an adventure when you turn 20. Where will we go when you're 19? Fishman Island. And it's also around this time that you realize Bonney currently in the story is a little child. Bonney who looks in her 20s is not in her 20s. Like, no, Bonney is when we first meet her, she's like 10. In Subodhi, she's 10 years old. And that revelation is like, wait a minute, this time frame for when Bonney was born, wait a minute, which makes that moment in Egghead where Bonney is taking off her shirt and wringing it out, and she just got everything out there for the world to see. And it's just kind of like, thinking back on it, it's just like gross. Like, just gross. It's like, it's all fun and games when you think they're of age, but once you find out they're too young, it's just like, nope, I don't want no part of that. Though it's even worse because it feels like the closer we get to the revelation of how old Bonney actually is, the more sexualized she is, and it's just like, Oda, calm down. And the anime doesn't make it any better. You know, it was already bad enough when we kind of sexualized the few 16-year-olds in this series, and we didn't do it too much, but I think of Luffy bouncing on Shirahoshi's boobs, 16. Before the time skip with Vivi, how she was a little bit sexualized too. The fact that Sanji married Pudding, who was 16. Well, he was supposed to get married to Pudding. And the fact that Carrot, there was always kind of the question of, is she wearing panties? Or just Rebecca's whole outfit, which, I mean, you see it more out of the lens of, it was to make her feel embarrassed, give her the least amount of armor and yada yada yada. But at the same time, it's just like, ooh boy. So it's like, Oda, buddy, I need you to calm down on some of that stuff, man. I need like at least another time skip. You know, do less with Bonney and make all the other 16-year-olds we know in this series of age at the very bare minimum. Just please. Oh man. Yeah, and finally someone who knows Sapphire Scales. And this is potentially someone who Dragon got in contact with a few cases recently. I didn't remember that. A few cases recently. I wonder. All kinds of natural light, sunlight and moonlight, and it'll progress even if you avoid light. Can Bonney survive? I'm gonna be honest with you. Your daughter has 5 years at most to live. She won't live to see her 10th birthday. Which, I mean, we know, and even going by off of the story as it is, it's like Bonney's 12 at this point. But the real question now is, how did Kuma cure it? No known cure at this time. And that's the thing. Like, for Kuma, it's like he thought at the very least, she might die young. But 10 years old? It's like, that's too young. That's way too young. And he's only even had her in his life for 5 years. Yeah, she seems so healthy. But then he thinks back to Ginny. Yeah, just that image seared into Kuma's mind. He thinks of the happier moments with Ginny, but that's still the last he got to see of her, riddled with all of these stones all over her body. And granted, it was exasperated by her going out into the light, but that would be cold comfort to Kuma and everything that he's dealing with right now. Honestly, that is the most kid thing to do. For some reason, and I remember doing it when I was little too. Kids just love scaring their parents. 10 years old. Yeah, something's gonna happen when she's 10. You won't get well until you turn 10 years old. It sucks to lie, but at the same time, because for Bonney, nothing about how she is, it makes it seem like she's sick. That's the thing. She wouldn't think that she's sick because, what makes me sick? Aside from what's growing on my body. And granted, the way that she's lived, she's accepted that, because of her situation, she can't go out during the day. Anything beyond that would really just go over a child's head, especially since she doesn't feel sick, at least as far as she knows. And you can tell he feels bad, but he doesn't want her to not be able to have joy in what potentially would be only 5 more years. They can go on a trip when she turns 10. Another year passed. Nightmare on the Sorbet Kingdom. King Bokori's back at it again. Back on his BS. Bokori is culling people. Oh, man. It's like, Kuma's just like, how many times do I have to teach you this lesson, old man? Oh, man. I will say, I wasn't as devastated by what happened to Ginny like I was in the manga, because that hit me like a freight train coming through. Just, right through the heart. Just a hole right where my heart used to be. But the anime didn't linger too long on it, and just the implications of Bonnie's birth and conception and just all that. It just not wanting to linger too much on it. Kind of, I get it too, because it takes away from the beauty of the moment of just Ginny's last words to Kuma, that it was nothing but love for Kuma, a love for Bonney, and a want for them to live and be happy. But then to consider what happens to Kuma, it's just tragedy after tragedy.